Finally, a desktop R2R DAC that doesn't cost arm and a leg. And it's coming from Fiio. It's called K11 R2R. As you can see, this is a small desktop DAC. It can fit in your palm. It is an R2R, that means leather resistor DAC, and it's not one of these small dongles. I reviewed several of these that were affordable, but they were usually north of $200 US, $250, $300, etc. But this is the first time that I'm seeing $169 US desktop fully R2R DAC that also has NOS, meaning non-oversampling mode, and also OS oversampling mode. And except from it being a DAC, meaning it has line output, single-ended RCA line outputs on the back, it also has headphone outputs in the front, single-ended and balanced one. When it comes to digital inputs, we have three most commonly used ones. USB, it's a USB-C connector, then optical toslink and coaxial SPDIF. Power supply is 12 volts DC, which means that there is a small power brick outside of the unit, and you connect DC voltage to it. Let me turn it on. Which also means that if you want to do so, you can upgrade the power supply with some aftermarket fancier option like low noise power supply like hifi or maybe linear power supply. This, as you may know, almost always results in an improved sound fidelity, but we'll talk about that a bit later on in the video. For now, as you can see, there is a small display in front and it contains all the useful information, one volume knob that doubles as a button, and everything is quite normal and ordinary, aside from this Fiio logo on top that can be lit in several, I think 7 different colors, like purple, blue, red, white, etc. You can also make these colors pulsate or be constantly lit up. You can turn them off if you want. I think that's quite important because some people don't like these blingy things. But you can also dim the lighting in several steps. And even though these color options don't influence the sound and the signal in any way, I firmly believe that purple sounds the best. Hence, all testings were done using purple color option. Now that really important color choice information aside, something less important is that headphone amplifier has quite a bit of power, going up to 1.3 watts, I believe. And this potentially makes this a really attractive R2R DAC with a powerful headphone amplifier. So let's see how it really performs. If you ever had Fiio device or you just listened to one, you probably noticed that Fiio is not emphasizing clear, crisp edges at any cost. They're not providing that analytical, sharp sound. Fiio sound signature, house sound signature, is more about having warm, full, and just pleasantly full-bodied sound overall. And K11 R2R is no exception. It does sound full, warm, and overall very pleasant. The details are there. This is not by any means muddy sounding or unresolving kind of DAC. You can hear lots of details, you can hear lots of inner tone details, giving like tone richness and just good tone timbre to instruments, especially wind instruments. They sound really, really nice and natural through this DAC. And all of those instruments, including vocals, also sound pleasantly full and lush. There's this just juicy, full-bodied tonality to it. And the outlines of tones, edges of tones, are not emphasized. This is not edgy, analytical, sharp-sounding DAC. You still get quite good instrument separation, quite decent sound staging and placing of the instruments alongside that sound stage, but there's just a softer transition between and around tones and their surrounding than most modern DACs nowadays. And that is especially true if you use it in its NOS mode, that is even slightly warmer and just milder sounding, but it does have slightly laid-back high frequencies. So personally, I did prefer OS mode with this particular device that gave just a bit of the boost to the highest frequencies, made them a bit more ringy and present, and that to my ears made soundstage sound just a bit more open in those highest frequencies, a bit airier, and also lent a touch more clarity to those edges and the outlined tones a bit better. You can still prefer NOS, that's perfectly fine with its milder, mellower, and some would call that more vintage kind of sound, but it's easy to try for yourself. Try both NOS and OS and see which one you like more. So to sum it up quickly, quite revealing, tonally rich, full-bodied sound with some sort of natural softness, especially when it comes to edges and transients, that is making your music listening more on a pleasant and relaxed side of things than that edgy, attacky, modern kind of sound. But now it's time to compare its line-out performance, when you use it only as a DAC, to some really good, in my opinion, best DACs on the market at the same price point. And one of them was SMSL SU-1, which is more analytical and sharper sounding, but also leaner and thinner sounding. It's touch more aggressive too. Fiio K11 R2R sounds bolder, and it creates more palpable tones. For example, vocals feel fuller and a bit more three-dimensional with Fiio. Fiio doesn't really lack any detailing compared to SU-1, but it did not make those crisp edges and those clean lines around tones as prominent and as obvious. But on the other side, that inner tone texture, that tone richness coming from vocals or wind instruments is, in my opinion, noticeably better with Fiio than it is with SU-1. And while you still might prefer SU-1, and at half the price, it's an insane value, just talking about the sound in absolute terms, I did prefer fuller, more wholesome, fuller-bodied sound of Fiio K11 R2R. The next competitor was SMSL D6S, which is around $200 US, and this one has a very similar tonality to SU-1, also very revealing and precise, but fuller bodied and with more bass punch and more authority, so it doesn't sound as lean and as high frequency oriented as SU-1. And because of that, these two are pretty equal if you compare them head to head. Once again, if you like mellower, warmer, more relaxed kind of sound, you will prefer Fiio. But if you like something that's cleaner, crisper, and slightly more energetic, you might prefer SMSL. And that especially goes if you can utilize balanced outputs on this SMSL. They bring even slightly more clarity and a bit more dynamics and punchiness, and that gives that exciting, really revealing character to SMSL, punchier slightly than what Fiio offers. But there is an interesting thing, and you might decide to do that, for example, because you cannot upgrade the power supply of D6S, it's an internal one, but you can upgrade the one on Fiio K11. And because it is more affordable one, slightly, but still it is, if you decide to add something like this hifi iPower X, it's a 12-volt power supply because that's how much we need for Fiio, then things improve. Soundstage grows a bit and separation becomes better. Soundstage depth is also slightly better, deeper, darker, and there is, overall speaking, improved clarity with Fiio. And in that case, I actually slightly preferred it to D6S. So truth be told, both SMSL and Fiio are the same tier DACs. They both perform really great with slightly different qualities and things that you might care about, like SMSL having balanced connection, but Fiio having the option for you to upgrade its power supply later on if you want to. But main sonic distinction is more analytical, punchier, more modern sound with SMSL, or mellower, milder, but warmer and slightly fuller sound of Fiio. And given how good D6S already sounds, and that you cannot make any significant upgrade below $400-500 when you get to Geshelli Labs DACs or maybe SMSL SU-1 Pro, but even then it's a subtle improvement in overall clarity. This makes Fiio K11 R2R equally great value as a great sounding DAC at a really low cost, as it was true for D6S. But something that Fiio has that SMSL doesn't is headphone output too. And we are talking about slightly more affordable device with this extra feature. And I tried it with several headphones, so I noticed that headphone output also has this mild, really pleasant, warmish sound, but it has some differences to the line outputs, because headphone amplifier has its own quality and it's a different output. So headphone amplifier, even though it has quite a lot power on paper, doesn't sound particularly punchy and energetic and engaging. As I said, it's more laid back and mellow sounding. Detail retrieval is great. Sound staging is actually really good. It sounds wide and airy, it's not in your face, it breathes around you. And the bass line is full and warm, but it doesn't dig particularly deep and it doesn't punch hard really. You might not miss that if you listen to slow music genres. And this headphone amplifier actually excels at acoustic music, great vocals, and just slow music genres. But if you want something more zesty, more engaging, like electronic music, or a lively pop song, it might not provide the energy and speed and punch that you would ideally want from those music genres. And I quickly compared it to FX-Audio DR07 that is equally priced. It's also a DAC and a headphone amp. And just as a DAC, I preferred Fio's fuller and richer tonality. This FX-Audio is very clear, but it's leaner and more analytical and not really in a good way. But when it comes to their headphone outputs, I do feel that things change a bit. So while Fiio still sounds milder and mellower and more laid back, and that is pleasant, FX-Audio is focusing more on clarity, on really clean edges. So for example, if you listen to an acoustic guitar, string plucks will sound both more energetic and cleaner, crisper. The thing with FX is that it does present more forward sounds, and when you listen to headphones, that is equal to the sound stage that is closer and more in your head and less around you, so it's a narrower sound stage. But it is more energetic and more engaging sound. For example, if you play something like this, it will sound noticeably livelier and punchier and more energetic with FX-Audio than with Fio's headphone output. And this also means that if you go to something even pricier like SMSL RAW MDA-1, that is a fantastic DAC/headphone amplifier at 280, I believe, that one is even better. It's better than both of these. And if headphone output of a device is something that's most important to you, and if your budget can handle that, MDA-1 with its more engaging, livelier, even bigger sound might be the best choice. But here's the twist. That SMSL RAW MDA-1, even though more expensive, does not have a better DAC section and better line outputs, than Fiio. If anything, I may slightly prefer Fiio K11 R2R for its, once again, fuller-bodied, tonally richer sound. And that leads me to the conclusion, basically. I consider K11 R2R great DAC, and even if it didn't have headphone outputs, I would still say it's a great standalone DAC with some very specific strengths, like that beautiful rich tone timbre and full-bodied sound that might make it the perfect choice for you. And it having the headphone output is an additional bonus. So it's not the best headphone amplifier at the market around this price, but it is definitely one of the best DACs on the market around this price. So if your use case scenario is you primarily need a DAC and its line output, this is one that you should highly consider. And even if you decide to use it like all in one, it's still a great DAC with a decent headphone amp. But in that case, I have one suggestion. In my opinion, the best pairing for K11 R2R are decently sensitive dynamic driver headphones. Something that potentially has good punch and good bass on its own already. What I didn't like is pairing planar, very linear planar headsets like hifi or VRM2s, for example, with this amplifier. Because that way I could not get enough bass punch, enough kick, enough excitement. But with moderately priced dynamic driver headphones, this one can sound pretty good. And for normal people that are not audiophile snobs, it can be more than enough. So for the last time now, really great sounding R2R DAC at a great price with a very decent headphone amplifier. And that would be all for today, guys. Hope you liked the video. See you next time.